You look up the word, and we'll just
Oh
cut
my
back in
God.
right when you find it.
Yeah. And then we'll put when I say that word right at the beginning. And then we'll have everyone cut out all the times when I was just dozed off thinking about that word.
Overdub. You want
The
this
C word.
high-performing...
Again, it's the C word. I still need the C word. I actually want to throw up.
This is how fast Henry listens. Can I stop recording?
Wait. I think the word's candor, and I'm kind of sad. Welcome back to the Smart Nonsense Podcast. The word is candor.
Welcome to the Smart Nonsense
Run 'em
Podcast, where we
both.
talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, and challenging norms. We haven't changed that intro in forever.
No, but we've changed the set, baby.
For the worse.
Day 2. COVID
Anyone
edition.
watching on YouTube probably can't see us. Might as well just watch on audio. We're doing the opposite of what we do before.
Hey, good news. This will be the last COVID edition, probably. It didn't last very long. Test came back. We are in the clear. Good news.
The wild card could come up. Actually, let me see.
Yeah, check right now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk today about the no rules rules. Sorry, let me get that. Let me get the punctuation right. No rules. Rules.
Good. No results on my end. Yeah, the exact title of this book is No Rules Rules, Netflix and the Culture of Reinvention. Reed Hastings, he started the company in 1997. Netflix is the company we're talking about. And
That's it.
99, he became CEO. Aaron Myers, some like little HBR, Harvard Business Review, like management person. I don't really know. But they write this book all about Netflix and their crazy culture, or at least the counterintuitive culture. It got me going. I like
You know
it
what
a
I
lot,
do know?
Belky.
You know what I do know is since yesterday, when we had no idea what the format of this pod was going to be, we realized this morning, this AM, our edge is the fact that we can read books really fast and kind of understand what's
We're
going
getting
on.
snaps from the live audience.
We got a live audience. So the thought is like, what if maybe people throw out books or blog posts they like and we can turn them around real quick?
Hey, know
and-
what's going to be funny, though?
Huh.
People are going to hear this in about a month or two. And it don't matter.
We got to get this out tomorrow.
I know. We got to close that feedback loop. That's one of the points in the book. Little short feedback loops.
Nice.
But there's a lot here, Belky. What I know we're talking about, like...
We ought to start with talent density, no?
No, before we get there, who should read it? Should they read the whole book, 80-20? What are your thoughts? Because you 80-20 a lot of books.
No, I would not 80-20 this one. Though some parts of it did go on. I think it was said nicely in the conclusion. If you're operations focused or like milestone focused as a company, as a person, as a organization, as a restaurant, probably not really for you. But if you're innovative, and you're ambitious, whatever you do for work is creative, then like this is the shit. I liked in the end it's you're not creating a symphony here. You are building a jazz band. And a jazz band is agile and creative. They improvise and they recover quick. And that's just not for everyone. But it is for Netflix.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it said specifically when you need high volume and low error in your company. So like a factory wouldn't want this. They'd want the old incentives, the old kind of culture of you get however many widgets you make. Or if like you fuck up and it's catastrophe, you don't want like their data science team or like their data protection team. They don't want to fuck that up with all this stuff. But other than that, anything creative where you got to be nimble on your feet, like this whole COVID thing, adapt like that. We're going to be trapped in this place. Let's just move the pod, decrease the production quality, and keep it rolling.
We just looked at the video. We were like, wow, that's really bad.
This might be worse too. It's darker
But you should
out.
go on YouTube. Check this out. Subscribe.
Yeah, so let's get into it. You're the creative company, and you want to be, you want this dope culture that's just, how do we be nimble? How do we create new stuff that people haven't seen and do it really well? Starts with talent density. I like that a lot.
That's what I was trying.
This is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You talk about
you want me
it
to
first.
hit? Let's think about this in terms of mathematics or physics for that matter, because that's where it hit my bones. Talent density is just having the utmost amount of talent you can in the smallest little package deal. So that means like finding the absolute best people at what they do and getting rid of all the ones that would just be like inflating that density.
It's basically like, would you rather, maybe this analogy doesn't hold up, but like, would you rather be on like a shitty football team with like 100-person roster of these like below average performers, or you're on like the all-star football team and you just like you, Tom Brady, Gronk, I don't know. I don't really follow football, but like you just want that powerhouse. And the reason why it makes sense specifically in Silicon Valley, I think that's important because not all industries matter. And even within the company, within Netflix, they don't have this sort of mentality in all areas. So like creative, anywhere where your leverage is immense. So like anyone that's coding, for example, the best coder, actually they cited a study. I wish I
the rockstar study.
Yeah, rockstar study.
In Santa Monica, I think. Which I didn't know. Like, I thought people just called people rock stars when they're hiring. It's from like a real study they did.
Where did the rockstar come from with that?
I don't know, but I guess they had 10 coders in a basement somewhere, 10 developers, a basement in Santa Monica, and they basically said, like, take this project, and whoever codes it with the least amount of errors or bugs or whatever in 2 hours is rewarded or something.
Like they did I don't know, like the best code or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and the result is what's important, not exactly how they did it.
Right. And the result?
The result was they came into it with the hypothesis that, the best coder will probably be 2 or 3 times better than the next best coder or the worst coder. But it wasn't only a couple times. It was hundreds, if not thousands of times better. Because one little change, especially when you think like Netflix, any sort of tech company is relatively small. Actually, Zapier. There are a lot of these. Oh, there's another company. I forget what it was, but they're like super small, but they just have so much leverage with software. So Netflix is like, hey, a lot of our shit is software. Let's just get the best talent, and we don't have to fuck around with the shitty employees. We just get the best, and there's this culture of like we are this rock star team that just crushes.
They're just dense as fuck.
So I like the density. That's
they're like we can either pay 10 people mediocrely, average, or we can play to do some task, or we can pay one person a lot, and they have a lot more work, but they can move faster. And
I think that's the problem, because you have all these companies like Netflix is competing with Amazon, Google, Facebook, Instagram, like all these. Well, it's part of the same thing now. Whatever. Twitter. They're all competing for the same shit, for the same talent that is. So how does Netflix stand out? They're like, we're not going to get just a bunch of above average people. We just want the best. And we're going to pay them absurd amount just because they're the top performers that can get 1,000 times the result of everyone else.
I like how they figured out pay too. It was mostly just based on market pricing.
Yeah.
It's not really tied to anything. It's certainly not tied to your hours. Maybe it's tied to your output or
Well, so I think the important thing is here, all right, talent density, but they don't behave like a family where you're never going to get chopped. Like in Japan, you get a job and it's basically your same job for life. Like you're going to stay within that company. And it's just a totally different culture. But they're like, screw family. This is a sports team where you're going to perform the best or you're getting cut. And everyone knows this, and that's why they come in with sometimes anxiety. But it's just like, you're going to step up to the plate and fucking crush it.
You could show up Thursday, and they're going to tell you you're gone. And, like, people understand that.
Yeah, here's the thing that's different, though. Why? Because it brought up this anxiety, like I said. Like, yeah, you might get axed. But usually their goal is that it's not unexpected. So, like, they have such frequent feedback cycles, and we'll get more into that. But, like, it's constantly like, hey, this is where you're at in the company. Like, on this track, we're not sure. Like, this is what you need to do. But it's different from like a PIP because they have these performance improvement plans. And I didn't think I'd remember that. Yeah. So those are expensive, and it's usually like when the person's already too far gone, and it's basically just wasting money. So like, hey, we'll take whatever PIP we were going to give you. We'll give you the most generous 4-month severance package. Mm-hmm. You sign this thing where you're like, you're not going to sue us, etc. So everyone's like, all right, we get it. We're going to do well regardless. It's a bummer if we get cut, but we know why we were cut.
The other nice thing was like, it was put this way where like a job is this magical thing that you're good at doing for some set amount of time. And when the day comes that you're not into that or you're not performing to that level, then it's like no harm, no foul, you move on. It's like this nice little window where maybe you fit in at Netflix and you just crush it. And then either way, whether it's from management or yourself, it's like you go on to the next thing and they reward you for that.
That's why Netflix, they've pivoted like 4 times majorly. The first was going from their DVDs to online. So I'm sure anyone that was involved with the logistics of DVD distribution is like, well, your job is canned because you're useless to us. Whereas Blockbuster, which is the example in the beginning, they didn't pivot at all. They basically just like, no, why would you watch movies online? And they got crushed. And now there's only like 1 left in the world. So that's why they've just been able to succeed left and right. And so I think that mentality is just cool. I often think about it with this, like, basically it depends if you want to take this approach on how much leverage you have. Because Netflix, they're like office administrators or anyone with kind of menial work that doesn't have much leverage. They're just going to pay them like average rates. There's nothing special there. But where you really have this special talent that can make a difference, like a video editor with media, where media can scale infinitely, that's something. You look dead.
I'm not. That made me think. First of all, I'm sitting here trying to think of what's the C word that goes into feedback. I can't. It's literally escaped my brain. It's the entire middle of the book. No, where they're talking about
specific is like criticism.
Criticism.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, when they give this rapid feedback at meetings, what's that open-mindedness? It starts with a freaking C. I'm sitting here zoned out because I can't think of the word.
I don't know. I can't help you there, Belky. But
I was gonna say though, I think because you and I have been talking a lot about bonus structures. I thought he had an interesting point. Maybe 3/4. This is getting ahead of ourselves, but because I can't think of the C word, we can't go there. Maybe 3/4 of the way through, it's like, I don't know. You're trying to figure out how you can do some bonus scheme, but at least in Netflix's shoes, it's very hard to tie money to people's metrics, especially when you expect things to change so quickly. If you have a milestone that you think you're going to be running toward in 3 days, but it ends up changing, it's like, how do you pay someone a bonus for that?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's just so complicated and shit changes so fast. Like, I remember they said in the book how one manager was like, oh, we should sign a 5-year lease, or like just know ahead of time, have this 5-year plan so that we can prepare, we save money, versus this like month-to-month scheme that we have and we're unprepared and we lose money. Like, no, we prioritize flexibility because we just want to adapt.
Yeah, they're like, we'll pay whatever for flexibility.
Right. So that's their whole kind of approach, is just flexible, like everyone knows whatever. But
I'm gonna see if I wrote it down. But let's talk about the 4 A's of feedback. I think that's really important.
I wouldn't even brought that up. Yeah, take the lead.
Oh, that was like the entire middle. I thought that was so good. The 4 A's of feedback, when you're giving feedback, and they do it at the end of like every single meeting. They're like, in the agenda, we have the operational stuff, and then at the end is just feedback. And what's so cool is there'll be like a junior level engineer that's mid freaking like all hands with the CEO is like, hey, actually, I don't think that's a good idea at all, and here, and is why. And then, it's the CEO's job to be like, thank you.
Wait, did we skip over? I didn't finish my compensation thing.
Compensation? Go for it.
Well, compensation, it's like, do you want to use incentives? When the metrics change a lot, it's difficult. Like, traditional, if you're running a factory, it's very clear. You're just like, this is your profit margin, increase our profits. You can get paid that way.
Or an insurance company. You're like, our profits are tied to.
But you couldn't do profits there because, what if we want to invest in some new venture, and we encourage people to take risks and do this, so they're going to be paid less because they're taking this risk that we want? Like, you can't have that. Whereas I kind of have like this weird middle ground of like half factory, half creative. So yeah, I got a weird scheme, but it's just interesting to consider. I think there are a lot of creative companies and a lot of non-creative, so this kind of helps tell you which side you should be on in terms of incentives.
It was also very hard to say at Netflix, like, not everything they do is net benefit. There are things they do that's going to decrease their share price for 6 months or 2 years that in the long run will benefit them. So it's just so hard for them to gauge things by metrics.
So I think that's the thing, right? They get this good talent. They just pay them a boatload of money so that they don't want to leave. They know that they have to perform, and they give this like everyone's accountable. They have like the 360 feedback. I don't know what you're looking at. 360 feedback very regularly. And
I'm looking for the C word.
Well, do you want to talk about the four?
I'm gonna give the
4
four A's, but I'm going through the chapters because the C word has got to be in here. Come on. It's not.
Clearly wasn't important.
Freedom and responsibility. Okay, here's the 4 A's for giving feedback. I think this is really good. I want to implement it tomorrow. Number first A. Aim to assist. Right? And that is we have positive intent. This is not to get ahead of somebody. This is not to put somebody down. This is like your aim is to help somebody. That's pretty easy. Oh no, my note's gone. Oh no, the second one was actionable, but my note's gone. It has to be actionable, right? You can't just throw out this like foggy thing that the person can't do anything about. Like they should be able to work towards accomplishing that piece of feedback tomorrow or the next day. And then on the receiving end, you've got appreciate. That's the third A. And what did they say about like some action of belonging or something?
Yeah, it's belonging. Actually, this is one of my favorite books. We should do this, called Culture Code.
Okay.
By Daniel something. That's one of my favorite books,
Pink?
actually.
No.
But it's all these like, you gotta let them know that them giving you feedback is good. You want that, so you give them like, hey, I like that.
Yeah, so it's like positive eye contact or a verbal affirmative, like thank you, for doing that. Something belonging.
It's a lot. Just like, thanks for giving that feedback. A lot of people take it to heart. And
Dude, I cannot go on with this pod until I figure out that C word. It's going to come to me in the morning. Okay, the last A, the fourth A, is accept or discard. This is a big one that we've talked about before, is like when you're getting rapid feedback and you're getting a lot of feedback and you're telling people your ideas and your family and your friends, there's going to be a lot of feedback coming your way. And it's up to you, the person, to decide what you actually take and move on with and what you discard. And you can figure out a lot about people's intent by what they accept and what they discard.
All right, summary. Aim to assist, actionable.
Come on, and then you start. And then on the receiving
Then on
end.
the receiving, it's the belonging cues, whatever the fuck that is.
Appreciate.
Appreciate. And then accept or deny or reject.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Let's talk about the vacation policy. You want to know it?
So this is the whole thing, right? Oh, it's kind of like get the big concepts in your head.
Yeah.
You want this high performing team, not a family, a team. Then you just hone their skills and have them hyper focused by these quick feedback loops in terms of criticism and just like getting everyone doing what they like, this radical honesty shit. Everyone loves it, but not many people do it right.
It's like brushing your teeth. Again, it's the C word. I'm going to go figure it out after this pod. But it's like brushing your teeth, right? Some people don't do it or don't do it regularly. Some people practice it. What? It's this freaking C word, dude.
Yeah.
Some people...
If it's that important, why don't you write it down?
It's so important because I was walking. Some people practice it, but they don't go all the way. They don't get those hard-to-get spots. And that's what it is.
Why do you have me in my head thinking what your C word is? This is your
problem.
problem.
How did you not hear it?
I don't know.
It's
hear
saying
a lot of stuff
whatever
that
you
don't hear.
think with positive intent. And there's a word that starts with a C.
Nope. So that's the thing. And there's a difference of cultures, too. I want to touch on that quickly, where they're this international company. We have a team in the Philippines, kind of in Singapore. And it's different. Like, what is it? Danish people are super, I'm sure Germans, too, are just, like, to the point. Like, no... like kind of patting your back before they give you harsh criticism. And so you got to figure out how to navigate that. And one thing that I think is helpful is with people that are more reserved, have it on the agenda that you're going to give critiques and give feedback.
Yeah, you have to lead by example. And this will segue us into travel. But if the highest up people aren't practicing it or aren't accepting or appreciating the feedback they're getting from the lowest level of people, then it's never going to work. And it's the same thing with
their rule is... basically, don't say anything that you wouldn't say to the person directly.
Oh, that's a great one. So let's say you come to me and you're gossiping. My response to you should be, let's say you're gossiping about David, who's in the other room. My response to you would be, well, what did David say when you said that to his face? That's so nice.
And it's funny because they were so used to this that they had to take away the anonymous feedback that they once had. It's a lot of letters in that one. Anonymous feedback that they had because it felt weird to people. Like, why would I give anonymous feedback? And so now they just had more accountability. So that's the thing. All right, people are in there, high performers. You get them just honed in their skills with the feedback. And now you want to make sure that they love everything they do. Because what do you do with the best creatives in the world? You give them control. You give them responsibility and power.
Freedom and responsibility.
Freedom. There it is. I like it.
I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, but can I tell you Netflix's vacation policy?
Yeah.
Take some.
Take some.
Just take some. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. And they found, this is why I wanted to bring David on at some point. But what they found is when you've got no rules, people don't kind of push on like, how far can I test this vacation limit? How far can I push this spend limit at dinner? It's like they're what do they say? Do what's in the best interest for Netflix.
Right, that's what they found. Before they played around with all these like hard codes, and people just want to, what is it, like, not gamified, like they want to game. They want to game systems.
Yeah. Wait, this is why I want to bring David on, because David sees the world in such an interesting light, and I finally figured out why.
Calling in
come over here. Come over
phone
here.
A friend? Is that
come
what
over
this
here.
is?
I want you. First of all, I still need the C word. I actually want to throw up.
You coming on?
Come over here. Come on, pod.
Context, codified. I just looked up. I was like, come on, just type in C after no rules.
I don't know. So I because you're so good at this, I want to hear, like, when you have an offer or something, you're always really good at finding its loopholes. That's like it's such a talent. I know where that came from.
You're just
but I wonder,
here's
like,
a little compliment for you. You're a fucking great schemer, scumbag.
I know where it came from.
No, just
I give up on the C word.
Just like finding.
I give up on the C word.
Little loopholes.
Yeah. Why do you think you do that? Put the mic a little bit closer.
Why
Pop
do I
might have
think
COVID.
I'm good at loopholes. I think it's because I'm lazy. I try to find the.
Oh, that's a pretty good
right.
one. That's not what I was
try to find
expecting.
the most value for the least effort, I guess.
Yeah, most value for
Right?
least effort.
I don't know. I
That's
don't
pretty
really think
good.
about it.
That's kind of like you,
I just
Pop.
kind of just do. You
Well,
know?
what they said in the book is that comes from a place where there are a lot of rules. And I was thinking,
okay. You know
I
what?
was thinking
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
went to
Yeah.
boarding school,
Yeah.
high caliber
That's a great
university.
insight.
There's a
That's
lot of
great
rules.
insight. And
Sports team, a lot of rules. Finance, a lot of rules.
The letters. Can we talk about these letters? David came back with, I guess, $500.
I looked at them. They're nice. They're nice.
They're nice, but it's paper. I don't know how you spend $500 on paper.
Really, I'll bring one next pod. I'll show you guys how nice they are. They're clean. They're clean.
It's because there's rules.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing at Netflix is, like, they don't give them, let's say, they don't give them a dinner spend rule when they're out with colleagues. They say, do what's in Netflix's best interest. And what they find is people order a salad and a couple beers. When you have rules,
That means Netflix must take care of them.
You gotta this thing.
Oh, sorry.
the microphone
That means
part.
Netflix must really take care of them if they actually
they pay
care.
them. Yeah.
And there's, like, it's not gonna run out, right? They know that they can constantly do it. They have the autonomy to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you screw up,
Then
like,
you got guys like me.
I just thought it was interesting that, like, this abuse of rules
Scoot over.
comes
Here.
from.
I'm
Yeah,
like- I'm
get him
trying
in
to
here.
get a nice I'm like fucking.
This abuse of rules comes from the rules themselves. That was basically my point.
Here's my point. I think United States people in general, Americans, we just love to say fuck you to society.
Yeah, just stick around.
So just hang out. Just keep hanging. Well,
Thank you.
okay.
That was
David.
our third roommate. Thank you.
Okay. So that's the thing. I think people just hate having imposed rules on them, especially high performers that don't need it. So yeah, keep looking at that.
Thinking.
So that's the thing. You set up.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ. So Netflix is like, yeah, let's cut all the rules out, especially around vacationing, which people, when they're like, oh, we're not going to have a vacation policy, dip whenever you want to, we just care about results. they're like, oh, what if they just took like 4 months off at the worst time? But people don't do that. It's a really one-sided conversation when you're thinking of the C word. We can always.
No, I'm not. I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening.
That's the thing. People assume the worst, but what really happens is, oh, people are like, wow, you trust me that much just to think about Netflix's best interest? All right, well, I'll tell you ahead of time if I'm going to take off, but I'll make sure to get my shit done.
Yeah, so they're like only rule there. It's not even a rule. They're like, if you're planning to take a month off, give us like 3 months notice. And if it's like 5-ish days, give us a month notice. They just don't want two crucial people in one department gone at the same time.
Right, which is fair.
But they're like, Kelly, if you're freaking crushing it in your hammock in Hawaii, who cares if you work 2 days a week? If you got what you need to get done in those 2 days a week, then who cares? So long as you're performing.
And that was radical. Like now it's kind of people are more used to it, but 20 years ago when they started doing this, it was a complete game changer.
Yeah.
And they did the same with like any sort of expense accounts or anything like that. They had all these policies of when you're going out, like how much you can spend. Even with decisions, like there's so many stories in the book of, say, like a marketer for Netflix. Like, oh, I have this idea, but it would cost $3 million to do. Like at their old company, they needed 27 levels of approval for this. And by the time the actual decision was made and they had all these signatures, it was a month later, just crap, like in terms of turnaround time out the door. They felt no responsibility for it. So like if it didn't succeed, they're like, well, all these people signed off, no big deal. Netflix, they're like, oh, $3 million, like that's a lot. But the context of Netflix, they call it, is like, these are our goals, this is our budget, like everyone knows the finances. You can make a smart decision. You're a top performer. You decide, you sign off, you're the one accountable for it. And that's when you have people that are lower in the company. It's like traditionally a pyramid, like lower levels of the pyramid, making decisions over anyone above them. And so they have this like tree model of what's it? Fuck.
I don't know, but what they're most interested in there is
Reed Hastings.
Let's say you do that thing, total flop. What do they call it? Sunshine?
Oh, yeah.
Your mentality is sunshine. But what they're basically looking for is how fast do you recover from that flop. That's what matters.
Oh,
you're taking the bets. You're placing your bets. You're hoping the cards are in your favor. You're doing the work so the cards are in your favor. And if it doesn't work out, how fast can you recover?
That's their analogy that I love. It's like you come to Netflix, and Netflix gives you all these poker chips. These are your betting chips. And you can bet on anything you want. But, like, if you lose all your chips, then you're out. So just, like, be conscious of that. And yeah, maybe you're going to crush it here and there. But you're ultimately accountable.
Does that beg the keeper test?
Yeah,
which
sure.
I know we've talked about
well,
before.
There was also another thing I want to touch on quickly.
Yeah, the C word.
Was, like, making mistakes and bringing sunshine to it. They're like, no, we want mistakes. We want this openness where people are, like, trying to suppress any errors that they have. And then not only do you learn, do other people trust you more, but everyone learns, and they'll even document a lot of this stuff. So like, oh, this is the case study of the person that fucked up, cost us millions, and now you won't do it.
A proverb friend of ours once said, I hope he's listening right now, it's only a mistake if you didn't learn from it. Thank you. That's all the time we have.
Hey, there's this, you ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People?
I did. Not super well. I remember I was listening to it on a plane and I was in and out of sleep.
Well, read it again. That's one of my favorite books. But it talks about this test pilot. He's like this super acclaimed dude, was going back from an air show, and his plane, both engines just stalled mid-flight. And he had to do this crash landing, miraculously survived. And then he tried to figure out, like, why did both engines just go out? And he figured out that they put jet fuel in when he was riding in, like, a 1942 plane.
Oh, jet fuel don't melt steel beams.
Yeah. So, okay.
Too
So
soon.
it took gasoline instead. And so he went to the person that pumped it in. And the person was like, oh, my God, he's going to kill me. Like, I literally almost just murdered him. And the person's like, hey, I know you messed up, but I want you here filling it tomorrow because you're the only person in the world that will not fuck this up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so now it's just like, that's their approach to everything is, hey, you made the mistake, but now you're never going to mess up.
You're never going to do it again.
So
or that same.
try and avoid them, but like we're gonna document it, bring sunshine to.
Right. What happens if they fire you on the spot, which I know a few people that's happened to? Then a new person comes in, doesn't know anything about that. They don't have these case studies, same gasoline thing, and they fill the plane up with jet fuel again.
Yeah, it's over.
Kind of a bummer.
So yeah, their whole policy there. How do we get into like who actually gets fired? Because that was the thing. I like this example. A lot of examples in the book, but they were talking about, was it Turkey? They had that ad in Turkey where they wanted to promote what's their scary show? Netflix's scary show.
So Stranger Things. Or Black.
They wanted to promote it, and they had like some email go out at midnight, like prepare yourself for the danger coming, or like something scary, and it freaked all these people out, made a ton of press, and it was just a flop campaign basically, and the person that was responsible for it, she was crying, and her dad, they're on vacation in Greece. The dad was like, "Oh my God, are you gonna get fired?" And she just laughed. She's like, "Get fired?" Like, no, we don't do that. But I mean, if I did a bunch, maybe. But I only get fired if I make the same mistake and don't. Oh, what do they call it? Oh, is it what's the word when you like feel out an audience?
C word?
Are we thinking the same thing? When you like, there are a lot of people. You like get feedback from a lot of people, basically.
Oh, maybe it is the word. It's the only word in the book. I'm telling you, it's got to be in your notes. Maybe it doesn't start with C.
I don't think it's the same word. I tried to not bring.
No, I'm back in it. I'm back in it. Come on. It was like 25% of the way through the book. They're talking about the C word.
I don't know. I didn't take notes until later on in the book. Well, whatever. How do you actually get fired then for Netflix? Let's talk about that.
How do you actually get fired?
Like,
who
stays and who goes?
One thing is, okay.
Oh, we didn't talk about for compensation, the market rates. Like,
that's not the C word.
I know, but I don't want to forget about it. Is like, we're going to pay you top of the market, but like if you want to raise and you can't prove that the market would pay you more, like go out and try and get competing offers. Like they encourage that. I think that's awesome. It's like, oh, we'll match that or go beyond that. But whatever, if it's beyond that, we won't do it.
What were we just going to talk about? I was going to say it.
Who gets fired?
Oh, how do you get fired? One thing is, with all these super generous policies, vacation, take some, spending, do what's in Netflix's best interest. If you abuse those, you're gone immediately. So they had one person who was like putting family dinners over the holiday like on their company card, and they're like, no, we give you all this freedom, and if you do it once, okay, let's talk about it. But we've got like 5, 8, 12 times this happened. You got to go.
And they have, like, at this point, 9,000 employees. You're like, I mean, some of them have to fuck up and abuse the system. And they do, but then they're fired and sometimes sued if they actually abuse and break the rules.
Yeah, and they make a point to, like, tell each department about what happened. But when they fire people, too, they do it stoically. And
they have their little Q&A session after.
Yeah.
Like, no one's like, oh, I just saw Johnny pack his bags and he's gone and we never saw him again. No, they talk about it. It's super open. Like, hey, this is exactly why he was fired.
And they signed up for that. You show up at Netflix and that happens. Like, it sounds like the people that leave are like, yeah, that totally makes sense.
That's why everything is just expectations. Like, you can go online right now, and this is actually where I first heard about it, but Netflix's culture deck online. Or culture document. It's like 100+ slides. Exactly. It's basically this book, just more condensed. And it talks about everything here, and everyone reads it when they first come into the company. So they're all on board, all on the same page. Ooh,
is the word candor? Forget it. Keeper?
So here's the thing. Like, who stays around? The keeper rule.
Yeah.
This is such a simple rule, but it's so effective because I find myself doing it a lot. If this person today said they were leaving, would you fight for them? I just love that because there are people that come to mind and you're like, yes, I would fight. I would raise their salary. I'd do whatever to make sure they're here. And they'll actually proactively increase people's salary, like without even asking, just because they want to make sure they're here.
And the inverse is, if that weren't true, you give that person their severance and get rid of them immediately.
Right. That's the beautiful thing. Like, you're constantly thinking this, and the minute it's a no, you probably tell them, like, hey, like, if you were to leave right now, I wouldn't fight for you, and here's why. And give them, like, this super early way to navigate away from that. Like, oh, you should learn these skills to perform better on the team. If not, then I can.
Oh, so you
see
kind
in
of get
6
it.
months.
You kind of get a little chance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
What's feedback?
Like most companies, they'll just bottle shit up, and then they're just like, I see it with people I work with. Like, they're on the chopping block, but they don't know it until it's too late, and then it's just like they're gone.
Yeah.
So you don't want that shit in any part of your life. So I like that a lot, and they encourage all their employees to ask their higher ups, their superiors, like, hey, where am I every couple months? Like, would you fight for me? And they're so honest that they'll just tell them, no, I wouldn't. Or yes, I would. And you kind of know where you stand.
And then the last thing they do, probably the last thing we need to discuss in this book, is their 360 reviews, right? Or was that not that interesting to you?
Talk about it.
No, it was just basically like a pretty elaborate, full-blown review of like everyone's performance, but you do it in a small group of like 5. Yeah. That was it.
Well, here's one thing too.
That was it for 360.
A lot of companies have like this sort of rank and yank system.
Rank and yank. That's nice.
Basically, where Ayus had it when he was Morgan Stanley internship. They're like, hey, there are 6 of you. We're only taking the top 2. And now it's this fierce competition within.
They said that up front?
Yeah.
Oh.
So everyone knew. And Goldman's tried it. I think Microsoft tried it at some point. But you realize you create more internal competition than you'd ever want. Like, you want people just, are they useful? Are they useful? Yes or no? Would you fight for them? Yes or no? That's what you keep. You don't do this like bottom 10% get fired automatically sort of system. That was the Enron system. That's where I remember that shit. But yeah, let me just scroll through. I think that's
scroll through.
I think that's the big thing. All right. Most companies in this creative sphere where there's a lot of leverage, which a lot of companies are in today, get your dense talent. Like, get the best people, pay them way above what they'd get elsewhere. So you make sure, or like top of market rate, basically. And then you just have this
I just thought of something nice.
Okay. You have this environment where they want to be there. That's what attracts people. They have just like the skills and everything. You really threw me off.
Sorry.
No controls.
Because
yeah,
all
just
right,
say your point. I'm not
let's not derail this. Okay, that's interesting because symphony orchestra. He's gone. He's like, this is over. Symphony orchestra, generally like 100 members. It's this big thing, a lot of sound, a lot of noise. Jazz band or a jazz combo, it's like 4 people. The band, maybe 10, 15. The jazz ensemble. So it's like this dense. I mean in the sense of density, and that's how he wrapped up the book. Is create the jazz band, not the symphony. And jazz bands, I'm realizing now, are generally denser. Fewer players that are more agile, more creative, more expressive. And when they hit a wrong note, they're really quick to recover. They don't clam up, they don't blush, they don't get the yips like I do on the piano.
I think they bring up the idea of like what companies can do this, and what's important is to have it loosely coupled, they call it. Where like you have these small teams and they're not all interdependent. Like say you fuck something up in your code and it screws up the entire company, you could never do this.
Yeah.
But when you have things that aren't interdependent, you can have more flexibility, control, just be a badass, do your own thing, rockstar.
One decision shouldn't make you go back and have to change a whole bunch of things because they were all sequential like that. This is so funny. The podcast is a roller coaster.
Such a roller coaster, dude.
Dylan comes on today. He's stoked to get back on the pod. We have a decent idea. I come on. I derail it. His happiness is just like like the plane from How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Hey, we should end the podcast, but then you look up the word and we'll just cut back in right when you find it.
Yeah. And then we'll put when I say that word right at the beginning. And then we'll have everyone cut out all the times when I was just dozed off thinking about that word.
Overdub. This is how fast Henry listens. Can I stop recording?
Wait. I think the word's candor, and I'm kind of sad. Welcome back to the Smart Nonsense Podcast. The word is candor. Have candor in the workplace. See you tomorrow.